What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
Hey guys, and welcome to Fantasy Points' newest show. It's the Underdog Drafter Party. I'm Jake Tribbey, and I'm here with my co-host, one of the best football writers around, Ryan Heath. Me and Ryan will be drafting some Battle Royale teams, talking about our favorite scroll-down options, and we'll discuss contest-specific strategy throughout this show. We can also handle any questions you guys may have about this slate or life, whatever. It's a Friday night. Just enjoying ourselves here. Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Excited to be on a show with the best back-to-back cashing points and Underdog Battle Royale host of all time. Just putting in the work tonight, Jake. I'm impressed.
I really appreciate that. I was grinding to be the Cashing Points host. Found out Graham was going to be out a couple hours beforehand, so thought we pulled a great performance there. Great show with me, Scott Barrett, Hilo. If you guys are into DFS at all, certainly check that out. We walked the slate, go game by game. A lot of that analysis is, of course, applicable to this Battle Royale format that me and Ryan absolutely love here. Kicking things off in the underdog streets, looking at some quarterback rankings this week. We'll go through the rankings, and then we'll look at some contests. We'll draft some teams, and of course, take your guys' questions here. Ryan, to me, quarterback is pretty tough. I kind of want a top three guy almost every time, but there are some interesting scroll down options here. Obviously, as you can tell from my exposures, I love Kyler Murray here. Lamar and Jalen Hurts are about the same to me. So to me, the top three are really in a pretty comparable tier. So I'm always more prone to take the guy who's going last. How do you see the quarterback position this week?
I like Kyler as well. Probably really the only top three guy I'm especially interested in. We'll get to it with the other positions, but I think paying up at running back and tight end is a lot more important this week. And aside from Kyler and wanting to mix him in, which was a mistake I made last week, not mixing Kyler in, Stroud, I do not like just the schematic matchup you guys talked about on cashing points as well, but a lot of pressure from all of these heavy Flores blitzes. The too high stuff has been really bad for Stroud and for all the Texans pass catchers. So they're just kind of a full fade to me. Richardson always in play, but really what I'm excited about is Derek Carr. That's going to be my highest exposure quarterback of the week. It's just, I love this game environment. Obviously, it's been the best offense in the league through 2 weeks. The schematic matchup is great as well. The double stack is easy. There's not going to be that much ownership on Rashid Shaheed either. So, going to have a lot of Carr Shaheed. Only other guy I'm kind of willing to get down to is Geno Smith. And that's just because the Seahawks suddenly, after Ken Walker was out, decided to go incredibly pass heavy in week 2. Second highest PROE on the week last week. Do the Dolphins push them with Skylar Thompson? I think there's a decent chance of it, right? I think it's an attractive stack, at least if you're taking HN like in the back of the first round. It's pretty easy to just draft optimal projection rounds 2 through 4 and finish that off with like a Geno and a JSN. So a couple good scroll downs at the QB position that I like this week.
Yeah, certainly like that note on Geno. Obviously, Seattle's pass rate did spike pretty notably without Ken Walker last week. And I think that's because they understand that Zach Charbonnet is not very good at football. That was one of the notes our charters had in their weekly article that I believe comes out either on Mondays or Tuesdays during the week. Charbonnet just looks pretty rough on film. So could definitely see Seattle leaning into the pass. And man, Derek Carr, I mean, I did not think I was going to be this excited to play Derek Carr, not even a tenth this excited to play Derek Carr in week 3, but here we are in a fantastic matchup. Let's move on to the running back position here. To me, running back gets real gross after RB5, so I'm generally trying to grab a top 5 RB, and I view almost all these scroll down options as pretty comparable. What are your thoughts here, Ryan?
I agree completely. My favorite way to start on this slate is going running back. If you get Barkley plus Mason or HM plus Mason, that it just feels incredible. And I agree as well with staying out of the middle. I think there's a couple running backs that project basically the same as RB6 through RB12 on the slate that I would just rather wait and take at lower ownership, frankly. So I'll mention a few of the names. So Rachaad White he still has all the passing down work. He has played 100% of snaps inside the 10-yard line this year. Yeah, Bucky Irving is going to get his touches, and Rachaad White's never going to be efficient on the ground, but he's getting all the touches that matter for fantasy that, in my opinion, can give you the type of week you need to win. So really like him as an option. Aside from him, Kyron Williams just projects amazing. I kind of understand questioning the upside, but he is not going to be anywhere near 100% owned up at RB 11. And then Pollard, kind of similar. We've talked and gone back and forth a little bit on how much is Tajay Spears going to play. I think there is a scenario here where I think you're hoping that it's Malik Willis for the Packers, and just that the Titans have command of this game and Pollard gets fed 20 carries. And I think there's a chance of that. So he's someone I like to take shots on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The Tajay Spears stuff is pretty interesting. We saw Pollard outcarried Tajay 16-4 in week 1. It was a pretty clear split in favor of Pollard in week 1. Callahan said he wanted to get Tajay a little more involved in week 2. And then we saw that up until Tajay got hurt. And then, of course, Pollard finished with the 4th most expected fantasy points of any running back in week 2. If Tajay ends up being limited in really any capacity, and, Pollard is running well, I think he could be a really interesting pick here. And also just wanted to second everything you just said on those other guys. Cam Akers is a little bit interesting. He's obviously going to be mega chalk in DFS, but I really don't hate some exposure in Battle Royale where, the main Battle Royale contest is about 45-50% full. Basically, none of those teams have Cam Akers. Right now, he's popping as the RB, let's see here, RB10, it looks like, for us in our projections. So, overall RB10, who, could have pretty solid touchdown upside here. The offense may not be efficient, but still, it's a great workload for a guy who isn't going to be very high owned in this contest. Any interest in Cam Akers?
Man, so I think it was last week or maybe the week before that I said, yeah, I like playing kind of like the gross, chalky main slate type of running backs in Battle Royale at the lower ownership. And so, yeah, in theory, that should be, I should be happy to play Cam Akers in Battle Royale if I don't want to play him in DFS. But it's Cam Akers, man. I just don't want to play Cam Akers. That's kind of where it starts and ends.
Yeah,
I acknowledge that he projects well.
It is hard to get excited about a guy who's had 4 Achilles tendons in his lifetime. That's a lot. That's a lot more than average. That's for sure. He has looked, decent, especially for a guy who's had 4 Achilles in his life. But yeah, I understand the aversion to drafting a guy like Cam Akers. For me, it's purely an ownership play. If I end up on a team where maybe I get great value across the board, so I'm relatively chalky, I know all these players are going to be close to 100% owned across a contest, then I'm looking at a guy like Cam Akers, who's probably as far as I would go at running back in terms of scroll down options. And he's going to give you, I would think, the best ownership of all the, in play scroll down options at running back. So he's at least interesting, a lot more interesting in 12 team leagues, but still viable in 6 teamers. At wide receiver here, it's really, really flat, and there are a ton of great options. I am taking a pretty big stand on CD as the clear 101, if only because there's a fairly notable projection gap between him and the wide receiver 2. So I'm generally leaning towards CD as my 101. I've also ran hot across my 18 or so drafts. So I ended up on a lot of CD. Ryan, how do you view wide receivers this week?
I was going to say, yeah, why 56%?
Oh, it's been absurd. I've only done 19 drafts, but this is absolutely crazy. Which, by the way, Ryan, before you go, if you guys are wondering what this overlay tool is, this is a really, really great tool from bestballoverlay.com. It displays your ownership percentage. You'll see once we're into drafts, you can also figure out, do you have certain combinations of guys more than other combos? It'll show the game total. It'll show the weather. They also have great sort of lineup analysis tools, portfolio analysis tools on their site. So definitely check out bestballoverlay.com. You can use promo code PARTY to get $10 off per month for this tool. So definitely worth checking out. I think if you're drafting a lot, this is a must have. I mean, I don't want to be tabbing between the underdog exposure page and my actual draft. It just makes my life a lot easier. So really like this tool, and obviously enjoy promoting something that is so useful. But yeah, back to wide receivers. Ryan, how are you viewing that this week?
Kind of similarly to you, it sounds like. So I think at the 101, I don't think you have to take CeeDee Lamb because yes, while there is just a big projections gap between him and everyone else, the same thing's kind of true at running back, right? So if you're taking Lamb at 101, you're completely missing out on that tier at the top of the top running backs. Sometimes Gibbs will fall to you at the 2-3 turn, but it's not super often. That's the ideal. That's what you're praying for if you take Lamb. But yeah, so I don't think you have to take Lamb at 101 100% of the time. I'll probably be like 50 to 75% there. Aside from him, yeah, I'm just kind of not drafting wide receivers between CeeDee Lamb and like round 5 unless there's a specific stack that I am trying to set up that I want to mix in. So I like the schematic matchup for Marvin Harrison this week, for example. So I'm gonna have to like force draft him because yeah, I don't love how he projects like relative to where he's going, but that's the cost to get him, right? And we're playing for top 1% outcomes in the main Battle Royale tournament, right? So yeah, got to mix in the Harrisons, got to mix in the Olaves if I'm building a bunch of Saints stacks, but other than that, I'm just really excited to scroll down at wide receiver more than any other position this week. Malik Neighbors has scored half of his fantasy points on routes against man coverage this year, despite that only being like 15% of his routes. The Browns are top 6 in rate of man. He's not going to be owned in nearly every draft. Rashid Shaheed, kind of for all the reasons I talked about with Carr, just looks incredible. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba going up against a pretty severe Dolphins slot funnel that I'm excited to play as well, that you have to scroll down quite a bit for. And all of those 3 names I just mentioned project like just as well as like I don't know, scroll up and I'll pick on some names that they project just as well as like, I don't know, like a Devontae Smith or a Chris Godwin or whatever. Like there's just not that much difference in projection here.
Yeah, the difference between projection in Devontae Smith and Malik Neighbors right now in our stuff is 1.9 underdog points. And you're getting massive ownership savings there. Totally with you on Neighbors. I think he's a fantastic scroll down option. Even Chris Godwin going as late as he is against a Denver defense that loves to blitz. Godwin sees massive spikes in all of his numbers against the blitz. That was one of my favorite pulls of the week were those Godwin splits against the blitz. So yeah, there are some really, really awesome options at wide receiver. I really don't mind going quarterback, running back, tight end, and then having your last 2 picks be wide receiver. I think that's, you can still get some very, very strong builds that project very, very well when your last 2 picks can be Chris Godwin, Malik Neighbors. Moving on to tight end, man, it is rough in the tight end streets this week. Obviously, we both feel pretty good about Trey McBride and Brock Bowers. After that, it gets real gross. Don't want to draft any George Kittle. I'd imagine he's still going in a decent amount of these drafts just because of the ADP. If you fell asleep at the wheel, if you switch your phone over to Twitter, you'd still get auto drafted a guy like George Kittle. He's doubtful. He's most likely not going to play. Ryan, after McBride and Bowers, do you like anybody here? Because for me, it's pretty clearly Jake Ferguson and Mark Andrews if I had to pick somebody beyond. But man, it just doesn't feel great.
Yeah, so I want McBride or Bowers on every single team. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. Yep. It doesn't always work out if you're picking like at the back and you go running back. Sometimes Bowers isn't going to fall to you, and that sucks. But kind of how I'm handling it is, yeah, I just don't. I see no reason to draft a Laporta or Andrews has upside, but even. Both these guys have upside. I don't want to say that these should be like full fade 0% plays or whatever. But when you ask me if I'd rather have them at 100% ownership versus somebody like a Pat Fryermuth. If you scroll all the way down to tight end 12,
Jeez.
he has an incredible schematic matchup against the Chargers, like heavy too high, heavy zone this week. He leads the Steelers in target share against zone. It's not George Pickens, it's Pat Fryermuth this season that leads the Steelers in targets against zone. So I would just scroll down to Pat every single time if I miss on Bowers or McBride. That's what I want to do. I will mix in a little bit of Laporta as like a Cardinals bring back and what have you, but that's kind of the stance I'm taking, where it feels like at tight end, the only way you get upside at tight end this year, it feels like, is they score, right? And obviously higher total environments for Laporta and Andrews, but I haven't looked at the implied touchdown odds, but I gotta think it's not as big of a gap as 100% ownership versus 1% ownership would imply.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. The gap between Fryermuth and Sam Laporta is less than the gap between Laporta and Bowers. If you guys are wondering, our projections. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, Fryermuth projects fine. It's 6.4 underdog points is nothing to get super excited about, but we only have Laporta at 8.8. So there really isn't much of a gap there. Trey McBride and Bowers are both around the 11.7, 11.6 range. So they project really, really well. And I'm right there with you. I want McBride or Bowers on every team. Beyond that, I'm looking at Andrews, Jake Ferguson, and then maybe some Fryermuth, because you did point out that elite schematic matchup, even with Justin Fields and Arthur Smith running that offense. He could still get you there. And like you said, he's going to be 1% owned. So certainly can't hate it. All right, switching over to the draft lobby, I wanted to look at a few of these contests and just point a couple things out that I'm looking at this week. First of all, the Dog Bowl qualifiers are the single worst contest you could play in any format, not even just Battle Royale. That includes DFS. That includes poker, for that matter. 50% rake on these. Only the top 3 are getting any real money. It's absolutely brutal. If you say you have $100 a week to devote to Battle Royale, I would never in a million years, no matter what, play a Dog Bowl qualifier unless it was 2 minutes before lock and it was like 40 to 50% full. That's the only situation where I'm playing a Dog Bowl qualifier. Beyond that, I really love the smaller contests, sub 1,000 entry, like single entry type stuff, if only because you can really jack up correlation and I think get a significant edge, assuming you get the guys you want to get. So we may end up doing some of these smaller drafts or 12-person drafts, but I do really enjoy the smaller contests. And then the other contest that I wanted to point out that I think is really interesting is this one. It's the Wildcat. And that's because, it's not letting me scroll down to see the contest info. But, standard GPP structure is, top 20% or so get paid. And then Underdog's generally pretty good at making the payouts fairly flat. So, first place will be 10% of the prize pool. 10th place will be 10% of first. Something like that is pretty standard. In the Wildcat, they've actually done something pretty interesting. They've cut the total payouts to just the top 10% of entrants. So it's extremely top heavy, but they're still relatively flat within that top 10%. And obviously, Ryan, we're going for high scores here. So if you are landing on high scores, the Wildcat is a pretty great tournament to play. And it's one I think I'm going to prioritize this week. Granted, it does look like it's going to fill. So if you want to chase overlay, might not be the number one contest, certainly won't be available on a Sunday morning. But why don't we rip a Wildcat draft to start things off, since I was just talking about that contest. We're waiting for a few people to get in here. It should fill pretty fast. Got a couple questions, Ryan, in the chat. We always appreciate it. Ryan, McConkey or Khalil Shakir this week? I will note film expert Brett Whitefield really likes McConkey. I'll assume PPR and take a peek at our projections, but do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I know I just talked up Fryermuth, but I'm a little concerned about Justin Herbert. Like if he's
if Herbert's sad, then you would have to.
So if that happens, then you're clearly Shakir. I think even still, I just will prefer the game environment with Shakir. He's been sneaky good, right? The Bills against the Dolphins kind of got out in front really quickly. I like Shakir. I like Shakir as the play here. You can tell me what the projections say.
I think I think you're right. I would say that if Palmer sat and if Herbert played, I would probably like McConkey a little bit more, but let's see what we have here. McConkey is
The
at 11
McConkey
points.
angle is Quentin Johnson gets shadowed by Joey Porter Jr., which would be
Oh my gosh,
hilarious. Not only would it be hilarious if QJ gets a shadow, it would be even more funny if QJ is the guy that finally gets one over on Joey Porter. But that would be the McConkey thesis.
That would be insane. That would like, we can just throw every wide receiver cornerback matchup out the window if Quentin Johnson goes off against Joey Porter Jr. That would be huge for my wide receiver cornerback matchups don't matter article that I wrote in like 2019. I somehow drew the 101 again. I know I'm running so hot. It's unreal. I kind of want to go Kamara, if only because I have so much CD Lamb at this point. And he takes here. And I mean, like we discussed, running back gets real gross after the top 5 guys.
Yeah, no, let's do it. Let's go Kamara. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And for what it's worth, our projections have sort of pinched these two. You know, earlier in the week, I was kind of screaming that CD Lamb is just such an awesome value at the 101. And obviously that shows in my exposure. And I still think he's a pretty great 101 pick. But with the way our projections are looking now, Kamara, CD Lamb, and actually Jordan Mason are all compelling 101 options per the Fantasy Points half PPR projection. So certainly like that. Do you have a take on a flex play between Cortland Sutton, Christian Watson, Rico Dowdle, or Javonte? I'd probably go Javonte.
I'd probably pick up Carson Steele. I don't know, man.
Yeah, some of these are just like, man, I don't know. You're in trouble anyway.
Yeah, yikes. Sutton has a really poor schematic matchup. So yeah, I guess I go Javonte, and you just hope for you hope he gets what he got last week, which is like the empty calorie 5 targets, right? And kind of gets there in PPR. But yeah, oh man, I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, not great flex options there. Ryan, we're coming around to the turn here. We have Kamara. Generally, if we want to make this a Saints build, I would want to go Devonta Smith here. We could also stack Smith and Jalen Hurts. I really don't mind like a Derek Carr, Devonta Smith, maybe Shaheed build. Devonta Smith is gone. I also don't hate single stacking Jalen Hurts with a Kamara. This is just a game environment I really want to attack. We could also just take, whoever the best value is remaining.
Yeah, I think either of those are fine. I will say, I think McBride's gone. I think you have to pick Bowers with one of our 2 picks. So other than that, I'm tempted to just go Gibbs. I don't know. You like Hurts more than me this week, it sounds like. So I'm fine if you want to go that direction too.
I mean, I'm not like in love with Hurts, but I just think this is such an awesome game environment, and especially for maybe not Kamara, but the New Orleans wide receivers to hit their ceiling. Someone from Philadelphia has to show up. So especially in car stacks, I kind of need a Devonta Smith or a Saquon Barkley to make it justifiable, because Derek Carr isn't going to get there if the Saints win another game by 30 points and no one from Philadelphia shows up. I think we just go Gibbs. We lock up running back here. Like we talked about, there's just so much great value at wide receiver. So really like this. Ryan, if we say we were playing in like a higher dollar tournament, maybe a $50 single entry, would you prioritize tight end even more in some of those smaller fields because the position just gets so weak after Bowers is off the board?
Oh man, yeah. I guess like the interesting or not interesting, like the hardest possible way to think about this would be you're at like the 106 drafting in a high dollar single entry, and Achan and Mason are there, who both project amazing for us, right? Mm-hmm. And in anything that's not a high dollar single entry, I'm just immediately clicking both of their names and praying Bowers falls, right? But I guess the question is, okay, do you take McBride there, right? I think, yeah, honestly, and maybe the way you do it is you also do like a bit of a Gibbs reach too. So you're correlating there. It's not that unique of a combination though, is the issue, because a lot of people on the other turn will have McBride. So I guess it's not as attractive as I initially thought. But yeah, honestly, I think so. Yes. I think if you're sitting at the 106 and the 201 in a high dollar single entry, I just want one of those two. Yeah. Because I don't know. I always get scared when it's week 3 and I feel so tunnel visioned on only 2 guys at a position. Like I'm probably not thinking hard enough or considering enough angles here, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. What do you think about that?
I mean, no, I'm kind of right there with you, and our projections reflect this. And I think it's important to keep in mind that because of all the time the staff spends on our projections, which we anticipate to be the best in the industry after some of the overhauls we did this off season, they can encapsulate way more than our brains ever could. So when in doubt, you just kind of fall back on these, and the projections suggest these top 2 tight ends are pretty crucial. And I think especially in smaller fields, in larger field stuff, a Freiermuth could post a score that, maybe you need to have. But in smaller fields, people aren't reaching as much. And that makes these top 2 tight ends even more powerful when you don't need to hit the exact nuts. You just need, maybe 10 or 15 points out of the position.
Yeah, definitely. What do we do here? So
yeah, this is a bit tricky. We need to start thinking about our stack. Obviously, I love Godwin. Where do you want to go at quarterback, though? If we wanted a projection max, we could just go AR.
I think that's kind of the angle, but then it makes the stack a little bit tricky because, I don't know if I love Carr and Kamara without any access to Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're fine filling in Godwin here. And then, yeah, man, this one's tough.
AR. All right. Well, I tried to move Godwin up, but it ended up giving me AR. We can take Godwin on this next pick. I'm more than fine for what it's worth with AR unstacked. I think especially this week, you're probably going to see it pretty spread out among the Colts wide receivers between Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman. So I think an unstacked AR is more than fine. Not something I would be looking at doing in, any of those sub 1,000 entry tournaments. But I think in something like the Wildcat where, if you just hit the nuts, then you're golden. I'm not as worried about correlation here.
My only worry here is I like to have some correlation somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I know it's large field and you don't need it with Richardson, but so what's our mini stack here? Like there's just nothing worth having on the Eagles right now. There's like Greg Dortch. I don't know if we want to take Greg Dortch in our first draft on stream tonight.
Jeez. I mean, Dortch is questionable with a hammy. So,
I even missed that. Okay.
He's only running a route on like 60% of dropbacks last I checked. So it's not even like this incredible usage. Our best leverage play, or our best correlation play, I should say, per the great tool from Best Ball Overlay would be DeAndre Swift. Highlighting him. I haven't taken any Swift. This Indianapolis defensive front is actually terrible. We have 2 running backs. So
I'm going to let you finish, but we actually can't take Swift on this team.
For what it's worth, the Indianapolis front is actually terrible, and I do think Swift is a viable scroll down option here. But looks like we're looking at a wide receiver. We could correlate with Deontay with Andy Dalton. No one's going to take him.
I
mean, I know he's a bit of a PPR merchant, but with Andy Dalton and at probably 2% ownership, no one's going to take Deontay Johnson. Yeah, all right. Let's rip a Deontay Johnson pick. I was a little worried for a second, Ryan, that we were going to end up with absolutely no correlation on our first draft. Maybe not quite the optimal team. We figured it out. We have things taken care of here at the Underdog Drafter Party.
Yeah, no, we got there. Our total ownership is going to be totally fine. There's not going to be Kamara Gibbs is a little bit common, but everything else I think is just fine. Yeah.
I mean, and this is I feel like this is a great example of a team where you would want to go a little bit more extreme with your scroll down option because we're so projection maxed right now. Like obviously we have AR, we have Kamara, we have Gibbs, Godwin, Bowers. These are guys who we expect to be on basically every team, maybe not Godwin. I think I've seen AR go on draft occasionally, but certainly a big fan of that team. I thought we pulled it out there. Let's try one of these higher dollar 6-mans and see if we can get something to fill here. And I hate how it doesn't default to NFL. Let's see.
I will say one other note on AR that I wanted to bring up while you're looking for the contest.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Why did I just say that for AR? No, I'm still in last week. I'm still thinking it's Colts Packers. What's wrong with me? that that line bet completely like destroyed my brain that I knew I shouldn't take.
Oh my gosh, dude!
My,
I'm telling you, NFL sides and totals are more efficient than foreign stock markets. Like there's so much liquidity that we can't outsmart them on the Malik Willis stuff. Not to mention LaFleur was in his bag with the play calling. I mean, that was a coaching masterclass. You can pull out a win like that with Malik Willis. You can do absolutely anything.
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah.
anyways, this doesn't apply to Anthony Richardson. But my take was gonna be that if we find out Jordan Love is playing at 11:30 on Sunday, what I will hopefully be doing if my DFS lineups are done and I'm not in 15 other different directions is I think at that point it's plus EV to just get into some drafts if there's any large field still open on Underdog and just draft some Jaden Reed teams because it's gonna like Jaden Reed's great. Love if he's hobbled, fine. The floor is not there, it's fine. He's a scroll down that absolutely nobody will have because nobody is drafting Jaden Reed until we learn that Love is playing, right? So that's kind of just a note I wanted to say that maybe won't even come to fruition, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty reasonable analysis. Obviously, people are going to be pretty hesitant. Tennessee looks like a pretty great pass defense this year for what it's worth. And Jordan Love, if he isn't 100%, how much are they really going to throw? But if no one's drafting Jaden Reed, more than happy to take him.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this just filled. This is a $20 3 max with, I believe, 560 entrants, if I remember correctly. So drew the 105 here. I'm kind of thinking we go running back first and then rip a tight end at the 202.
Yeah, I like that. We can play. We'll see who falls. I don't know. I've had decent luck so far with Bowers getting to me if I'm not just the last pick. But I think his ADP is like 16. So yeah, you're playing with fire. But you got to do that sometimes. But maybe not in a 3 max though. You're right. So yeah, I think we can just reach for a tight end in round 2.
I mean, I really don't mind a reach when I just feel like, obviously there's just great value with these top 2 tight ends. And I kind of think the market is wrong. I mean, these ADPs should be higher on both Bowers and McBride. So I really don't mind reaching when I think there's a clear market inefficiency. I think you can really get in trouble reaching with guys who just don't quite project well. But these guys project well.
I agree with that. It's just that like Jordan Mason also projects really well, right? Like if Mason is there, then I have trouble taking them over him. But yeah, any of the wide receivers, then totally reach. That's absolutely fine with me.
Yeah, it would be pretty tough to pass up like a Mason Achane team. And I believe it's Gumby, right, who does the sim threads. Like he noted that it's pretty rare for any position to outperform the 101, but like a double running back build from, the final pick or the 105 seems to be simming quite well. So some really wide receivers off the board. We should have our pick between at least Achane and Mason, it looks like. Do you have a preference between those two? It looks like, let me check our projections. You could really argue for either. Mason is projecting a little bit better, actually notably better, about 3 points.
So I know this is against the projections, but I prefer Barkley over both of them just because it's the best way to build a Saints stack, in my opinion. Like Devontae Smith projects fine. Like I'm fine taking Devontae if I'm trying to set that stack up as well. I wrote him up as kind of like a matchup to maybe avoid like at ownership on the main slate, just because the Saints are playing so much single high. Smith wasn't that good against single high last year. He's been good against it this year, and obviously he's being used quite differently with AJ Brown out. He was playing outside a lot more. But yeah, and anyways, I think Smith's fine, and I think we clearly take McBride here.
Yep, I am right there with you. And yeah, like I said, I do, if you want to play a New Orleans stack, which, I think are pretty great options this week, especially with Derek Carr looking like the QB7, certainly not going to be super high owned in Battle Royale. You kind of need an Eagle. Derek Carr's averaging 20 fantasy points per game in the first half of games, and he's finishing games with 22 fantasy points because they are completely taking their foot off the gas. If that somehow happened again this week, obviously he wouldn't get you there. But if Philadelphia can put some points on the board, which they're almost certainly going to do through Saquon Barkley or through Devontae Smith, then, things are looking pretty great for New Orleans stacks here. So really love this start. Saquon Barkley, Trey McBride. We got a top 2 tight end. We got a top 5 running back. Those are my big priorities in the first 2 rounds of these Battle Royale drafts. Should we be looking at wide receiver here? What do you think? If Gibbs fell to us, that would be the nuts, but I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, no, you'd love Gibbs here. I don't mind Devontae Adams. Like, the schematic matchup is great, but yeah, we don't have to take we don't have to take any position really. I mean, we could scroll down to Olave and just set up our stack there. I'm cool with that. Shaheed is obviously, we can take him at any time. And if we're doing a car team, then that also can be very late. So yeah, no, I think we're fine to take Devontae and or Olave.
Yeah, I'm going to lean towards Olave here. Generally speaking, in like the main Battle Royale, I wouldn't be looking at double stacking Derek Carr much at all, even though I do love Olave and Shaheed as individual plays. In a field like this, though, I love a Derek Carr double stack. So I think I'm going to grab Olave right here. Another question I had for you, Ryan, is when would you take Tyreek Hill? When would you feel comfortable with that? He is not projecting well. He is probably the most overdrafted player in all of Battle Royale this week per our projections. Where would he rank for you?
Man, yeah. So I was in our staff Discord earlier this week, pestering you and Chris about the Tyreek Hill projection because I look at Tyreek Hill and I see like 1 to 2% ownership next to his name, and I'm like, this seems like a problem. Like, this seems like something we should consider a little bit because it's Tyreek Hill. I'll finish my thought after we pick.
It's either running back or Shaheed, probably. I would imagine if we did grab Shaheed, we wouldn't have to worry about Carr being sniped.
Yep. Good. Just show me. Yeah. Let's just take. Let's just take Shaheed.
Yeah. I'm pretty comfortable with these later round running back options. They all feel pretty similar to me. So I would rather just get the stack I want, especially because this is a higher dollar contest. I don't feel like taking as many chances. So yeah, feel really good with a Barkley, Olave, Shaheed, McBride start. I think for the contest we're playing, this is absolutely awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And this is, I'm going to be very tired of drafting this exact type of build because I'm going to do that a lot this weekend. Spoiler alert.
Well, then we'll both win all the money this week. It'll be great. Back to your thoughts on Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. So my thoughts on Tyreek Hill is, I do think that I don't think the Dolphins are going to roll over, right? I don't think this is going to be one of those situations where McDaniel is like, oh, damn, like, I guess we're just not going to have an offense at all without Tua. No, he's going to be absolutely in his bag, scheming up all this design stuff, all these screens for H-Man especially, but also probably for Tyreek Hill, right? So I think he's going to get opportunities. I think he's going to get a lot of like short targets. You're probably not getting like the 70-yard bomb touchdown that breaks a slate, but can he house a screen? Yeah, obviously Tyreek Hill can do that. So I think Battle Royale is just not the place to take him. Like I would do it if he was falling to like round 5 or 6, just because that is a unique build and you can capitalize that way. But he's going to be at essentially 100% ownership in this contest. But the place to play Tyreek is on the main slate, where he will not be owned hardly at all. And if he goes off and houses a screen, you get to point and laugh at everyone that didn't play a 2% Tyreek Hill. That's kind of what's in my head. Yeah,
no, I think that makes a ton of sense. You want to get that exposure in DFS. I mean, okay, the guy picking between us already has a quarterback, so we can wait on Carr. Who's your preference at running back here?
Let's see.
Kyren Williams would be the best projected play. He's certainly a guy that I like. I mean, the usage has been there.
That's kind of. I like otherwise I'd scroll down, but this is not going to be a popular build. So
Yeah.
go with Kyron projection max. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, especially in like a 560 man contest, I'm more willing to take the highest projected player in a situation like this where, we're building a Derek Carr double stack that just a lot of people are not going to have, especially because we have great correlation as well with Saquon Barkley. So I imagine this will be a very unique build. And honestly, it's one that I'm extremely happy with. Probably my favorite team that I've drafted all week.
Yeah, unique in the contest, but not unique in my portfolio.
Yeah. Well, our portfolios are going to be looking pretty similar this week, man. So, we'll be.
Do you get scared of that? I feel like we I feel like the two of us kind of put our brains together and like converge on 2 or 3 builds every week, and sometimes I worry that we're just like I don't know, hive minding each other a little bit too much. Like, are we missing out on stuff by just constantly talking about the slate with each other?
Maybe. I'm also constantly talking about the slate with all the other great employees at Fantasy Points, though. So I hope they would help break me out of the hive mind. If it was just you and me all week, I would certainly be worried about that. But I feel like, between Scott and Hilo and Graham, all the other guys, the film guys with Brett, and, Chris is obviously always dedicated to getting a true median on these guys with our projections. So, I'm not quite as worried about the hive mind, but it would be hilarious if we ended up duping each other and winning a contest with the exact same team. That would be legendary for this show.
Yeah.
It'd be absolutely huge.
Yeah. It would not be on purpose either. Like I might have that team that we just drafted. I literally might have that team.
Yeah,
just not that many drafts.
Please don't draft it in the $20 3 max, because that's what I have. So that ended up being a Derek Carr, Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Trey McBride build. Again, I think this is a perfect build for this exact kind of contest. 560 or so entries, $20 entry. It's a 3 max. So generally people don't like to reach as much in like single entry 3 max type stuff. Shaheed should be lower owned in a format like this compared to, say, like the main battle royale or the Wildcat. This is a great team. Let's see what else we can get into. Also appreciate all the comments, guys. Good morning, Meatwad, even though it is 9 p.m. I love how much the Battle Royale community has adopted like crypto terminology because there's so much overlap between the two groups.
Why is that, by the way? Can you explain that?
The
why
GM.
is there such...
The GM.
I understand the GM. I understand it's crypto terminology. I'm asking you, as someone who obviously does have like a foot in both.
Yeah.
Why is there so much overlap? Like what is is there like a similar draw to both of them for some reason? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I know nothing about crypto. I'm not in those circles like at all. So I'm just curious why people get drawn to both. Yeah,
I think it's because gamblers have an affinity for crypto for a variety of reasons. But yeah, I think that like that would be the main one. You just generally see it, like from what I've noticed in gambling circles compared to the general populace, gamblers love crypto. I think part of that is because if you wanted to bet on a Bovada or if you wanted to play online poker and you live in like Wisconsin, you kind of need some crypto to be able to do something like that. There aren't many like American avenues towards, stuff like that. So, if you're like me, you're in a legal betting state. You kind of have to use crypto. You have to use Bovada if you want to get action down on props, which obviously I do because you guys, you, Ryan, have a great advanced matchup column where you recommend some really great props.
Yes, I do. Yeah, that dropped earlier today, advanced matchups. You can find it on FantasyPoints.com. A lot of really good schematic angles this week. I just added another one today with just kind of the uncertainty around the Colts with Michael Pittman being listed as questionable, hearing some good things about Josh Downs. So I would go check that out on the site on Fantasy Points if you are a subscriber. Lots of cool angles for Battle Royale, for DFS, and for prop betting. So highly recommend that article.
I would also highly recommend it. I try to do my best to read a ton of content during my week. my favorite articles on Fantasy Points are Jordan Van Ek's Ass Report, where he goes over some of the best separators in football, our Data Charters weekly review, which, obviously 16 games every week, you're not going to be able to watch them all. Thankfully, our charters do, and they can take notes over who looks the best on film. And then, of course, your advanced matchups column, which is a huge help to both me and Scott when we write the gigantic slate breakdown. That's, I think 8,000 words again this week, because why wouldn't it be? Here we are in a main battle royale contest. This is, of course, the main tournament with close to 70,000 entries. And of course, I draw the 101 again, because I am the luckiest man alive this week in $3 and $5 battle royale contests, allegedly.
Yeah, are we going CD, man? Can you stomach more exposure, or you still gotta flatten this out? We can draft Kamara and just say, hey guys, take CD here, but don't take Kamara twice in a row at the 101. But you can do it. Go ahead.
I'm fine either way. I mean, I figure I plan on doing 20, 30, 40 more drafts tomorrow. My luck has to even out at some point, right? I can't get the 101 on half my drafts all week. That seems pretty unlikely. I guess I could. I mean, it's kind of like the DFS thing. You could run bad or good forever.
Yeah. This was, by the way, this was, I think, the first year in like 3 or 4 years of playing like a decent amount of best ball where I actually got a lot of 101s. And that's obviously not working out very well with with Christian McCaffrey right now. Of course, the 1 year I finally get good 101 luck. It's I have the Christian McCaffrey bags and like 2% Jordan Mason across my whole best ball portfolio. So
I instinctually said nice, because the 101 is worth so much more than basically any other pick. But of course, this year it is the stone worst pick you could have had, because everyone would have taken Christian McCaffrey, and he is hurt for God knows how long, because the 49ers beat reporters can't do their job and even tell us what the deal is. I mean, it's just insane that there were basically no concerns, and then it's like, oh, he's out for a hot minute. I ended up taking Kamara there. Gosh, I just love the Saints this week, man. And given the way our projections have sort of condensed a little bit, I'm a little more comfortable with Kamara than I was, say, on Wednesday as the 101. And honestly, with the way our projections are looking, you could justify Jordan Mason as the 101, who's a guy that I definitely need more exposure to in these contests. Another reason I want to do more drafts here. I think, the easiest route to go, depending on what the guy on the clock does, if we could just take a Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith here, kind of wrap our stack up, and then decide what our scroll down options are going to be. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I like it. That's fine. Like, do that, but I'm going to ask you questions anyway.
Okay.
So, cue them up. I'm serious, because I'm going to talk.
All right.
I don't want to mess this up. But will you stack Carr and Kamara? I guess is starting point number one. Are you okay doing Kamara?
Absolutely. Okay. He's been crushing in target share. I believe Scott had a stat that in victories last year, he didn't exceed an 18% target share in any individual game. He's done that in both victories this season. So that's extremely encouraging for Kamara's overall upside. And I mean, as long as this offense keeps cranking, he's going to post monster fantasy numbers. So more than happy to bet on a Kamara stack. Probably something I would like a little bit more in smaller fields, but honestly, I'm fine with it in the main BR. I think it's more than okay this week.
Okay. Yep. And love that. Love those thoughts. My next question is, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm going to have nightmares about this tonight unless I get more exposure to it. I feel like the way that that Carr doubles lose basically is just that Jalen Hurts has multiple rushing touchdowns, and you're better off going Hurts plus like double bring back, right? Do we think that's at all viable? Like in the smaller field stuff, Hurts plus Kamara plus Shaheed or something to that effect. I don't know. Like, and actually, even if it is kind of what you outline, where the Saints just kind of take their foot off the gas after the first half, like it has been happening, and then it's a bunch of garbage time scrambling for Jalen Hurts. Like I could see it getting there that way. I don't know. I'm super overthinking this game that I'm going to have the most exposure to, and just trying to think of any angle to make sure I'm not going to get screwed on it somehow.
Yeah, I think you'd be more likely to lose to like an unstacked Hurts or an unstacked, Lamar than you would be like a double in that situation if they were running a ton. Honestly, I think it might be a bigger risk that the Saints are just unbelievably good and they take their foot off the gas again in the second half and Carr doesn't even get to 25 fantasy points. Um, that's probably at least similar to the risk with one of these running quarterbacks going off here. What do you want to go here? Could lock up a tight end. What do you think?
Yeah, we can do tight end. I'm not going to make you draft Pat Freiermuth.
Okay. I'm more comfortable with the scroll downs at wide receiver, so I'm more than happy to take a tight end at this spot. Let's look at running back first. Sharbs, Kyron would be okay. I'm kind of looking at 2 scroll downs here since we're so chalky.
Yeah, totally agree.
Maybe a Cakers. I like your call on Rashad. I think I'd much rather play him here than I would in DFS, where he's projecting for like 8% ownership at kind of a meh sort of price point. So let's lock up a Rashad White. I mean, the matchup is excellent against Denver. So that's at least encouraging, even if he is going to be pretty gross from an efficiency perspective. Then we're looking at wide receiver, obviously our favorite scroll down options. We love JSN. We love ourselves some Malik Neighbors. Shaheed on this team would be okay. There's certainly a chance, the New Orleans offense does really well. But maybe Carr just doesn't post quite enough of a score to get you there. Maybe because Kamara steals a couple touchdowns, which is what we're hoping for on this team. So wouldn't hate him either. What are your thoughts?
Remind me how big of a field this contest is. Sorry.
This is the main battle royale. So this is
okay.
70K entrance.
Yeah, I think I'd scroll down to JSN then.
All right.
I don't think you need to. If you're taking Hurts, you don't need to go double bring back with plus Smith. That's kind of probably unnecessary for the main field. So yeah, I like just JSN then.
Yep. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Another cool thing with this best ball overlay tool, guys, is you can check your combinatorial ownership. So I've actually already drafted a Hurts, Kamara, Devonta Smith team. But as you can see, that team does not have Rashad White, which you can pretty easily tell by just clicking this. So really, really nice overlay. Again, you can get $10 off a month with promo code PARTY at checkout. So definitely check that out. Looks like we're just going to go JSN here. Man, he is such a good pick in this format when we expect Geno Smith to just throw a ton. Love me some JSN.
Yeah. So basically the Dolphins have allowed, I think it's 17 targets to the slot this year versus only 10 to out wide.
Yeah.
The outside corners are way better than the slot corner. 5th most yards per attempt to the slot. And it's just kind of under the radar because both of the teams they've played kind of split their slot reps a lot. So like it was between like Engram and Kirk, and even BTJ was getting in there in week 1. The Bills was obviously they got out ahead really quickly. Like Samuel and Shakir were all getting in there. So it's been spread out. So it hasn't kind of, the tendency hasn't like kind of popped in any one guy's fantasy score yet, which I think it's a little bit under the radar. But yeah, if it's gonna pop, it would be with JSN this week. Yeah.
No, I think that is fantastic analysis. I think you also noted in your article that he had 26% of his air yards from last season in just week 2 of this year, which is absolutely insane. I thought that was a pretty great poll, Ryan. Let's see.
So that poll, go ahead and pull up the contest. And
I was just going to see if we can get into a 12-man relatively quick. This one isn't quite full. I don't want to be waiting too much on stream. We can come back to that. I'll see how the other 12s are looking.
I was trying to play a 12-man on my lunch break from the office today, and very curious that it would not for me on time. I sat there for 25 minutes on my lunch break waiting for the 12-man to fill just so that I could have 12-man takes for you. So sorry.
They are ridiculously slow to fill, which is the unfortunate part of trying to draft a 12-man, especially on stream. This is the $50 single entry. It only has 3 more people needed. I'm not sure if we want to wait around because it might be a minute here. I will
Well,
keep.
apparently, according to Macro in the YouTube chat, everybody right now is watching our stream and taking Bowers by pick 10. So, come on, guys, fill up these 12 mans for us. We're trying to rip one. You can even snipe us. We won't even complain that much about it.
I bet a $3 can fill up pretty quick. Only needs 6 people, so this is the $3 12 man. I'll dip back into the 10 real quick just to see where that's at. And if none of those are full, we can do a quick BR and then maybe try that again for our last draft.
You're confusing the viewers, Jake. They don't know which one to get into.
All right. The $10 12 man has 3 people left. I think we can make this happen, Ryan. Maybe answer some questions while we wait for this to fill. Someone asked Deontay or T. Higgins in half PPR. I think I'd definitely go Deontay this week. I'm always scared to play T. Higgins off of injury because he's done this thing like 3 times where he's active and then plays 1 snap just to piss everyone off. So that's a lot of fun. Definitely want to avoid that. I traded away Kyron Williams and Garrett Wilson for Amon-Ra. Was that a bad trade? Probably not ideal. Do you have thoughts on that trade?
I don't know if I mind it. I think I'm more I think I'm more of an optimist on Kyron Williams rest of the season than most people right now. So the last time that the Rams passing game fell apart, which is so not only this was 2022. I mixed my years.
I believe so.
Yeah, 2022, where Stafford and Kupp both got hurt in the same game or within back-to-back weeks of each other. The rest of that season, obviously, Rams totally dreadful offense. We don't think it's going to be nearly that bad as long as Stafford is still there. But that backfield still averaged like 17 expected fantasy points per game, which it was not like top of the league or whatever. But Kyron Williams has legit still been at like a 90% opportunity share, right? And he's going to get most of that 17, even if it's a worst case. So yeah, I don't know. And maybe that's not as impressive as like 17 XFP per game would have been last year with how some of these running backs are looking and the depth at the top of the position. But I don't think it's that bad. Like Amon-Ra is the best player in the trade. I always, in redraft especially, am leaning toward just give me the best player. But I don't think it. I think it could go your way. I think it could swing your way.
Yeah, I think you probably just need that Kyron efficiency to fall off a bit, which you could certainly see happening given the state of the offense. Someone was asking tight end options with Kittle out. Should I start his backup, Eric Siebert? Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that.
You should not do that.
Yeah, you should not do that. I'm fine with either Mike Gesicki or Colby Parkinson. Both of those options would be fine to me. I don't know if I'd really have a strong preference there.
I kind of like Brent Strange. Am I crazy for that? Like,
jeez. I mean, what was his route share?
7 targets last week. 7 targets last week. He ran, I think, over 70% of the routes. He just played the Evan Engram role. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know. Colby Parkinson's going to be out there running 90% of the routes, but not getting targeted at all. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just irrationally high on Brenton Strange right now, but I kind of like him of the options that are mentioned.
I mean, it's all just so gross to me. What I'm going to do here is we're going to rip a quick battle royale. I've got the goal line stand up on another monitor. So once that fills, we can switch over. I might be like 1 pick deep into the 12 man, but to save on time here, make things a little bit more entertaining, we could do a quick battle royale. Is Taysom Hill worth a shot this week? I think it would just depend on like what your tight end situation is overall. I mean, if you're desperate, I think it's fine. For what it's worth, he was hospitalized last week due to a chest injury, and he is questionable. So I'm not sure if he'll end up seeing like a bit of a reduced workload here. That could certainly be of concern. I don't know. Any thoughts on Taysom?
I don't have Taysom takes. My only Taysom take is God. Can you imagine if that's like so it's the Saints onslaught stack where it's like Carr, Olave, Shaheed, Taysom is probably negative with Carr, but imagine if that's like what what ships like these large field main slate tournaments.
Oh God,
I would be so upset. But like
Taysom coming off the hospitalization
and it's Taysom Hill. Oh my God.
Post hospital just to ruin all our lineups. All right. Well, I clearly timed this very poorly because we have both drafts starting simultaneously.
Okay, let's do this.
So this will be a very active final 10 or 15 minutes here for us on the Underdog drafter party. Thankfully, in the goal line stand, we got the 102, which is a pretty decent pick. We were kind of talking about this earlier in the Fantasy Points Discord, which, by the way, guys, definitely check out the Fantasy Points Discord. We have a free Underdog Battle Royale channel. So a lot of the best channels in the Discord are paywalled. Battle Royale is not, because we're desperately trying to grow sort of our Battle Royale presence within the community. So definitely check that out. I think I just want to go Alvin Kamara here at the 102, right?
Works for me.
Great. So we can grab him, and then in the main Battle Royale, we drew the 106. I think you got to go Jordan Mason. Do we want to grab a McBride? We can probably wait and get Bowers potentially later on.
Yeah, it's a main tournament, so you're gonna have a bunch of entries. If one of them gets without a tight end, that's fine.
Yep. Jordan Mason at the 106 is like best case scenario though. So very happy with that. And then I'm more than fine with Justin Jefferson. How do you feel about it? These Houston defensive backs, by the way, basically everybody has gotten great separation against them. So also a note for Jalen Naylor in DFS, or maybe in a 12-team draft if you're looking for a real thin play.
Yeah, no, Jefferson's good. I like Harrison this week too, but he's overpriced. So yeah, we can go Jefferson.
I think I'd try to get more Marv exposure in DFS. Feels like a bit better of a value this week. You see these underdog ADPs just get a little bit too reactionary overall to like last week's performance or just recency bias overall. So generally when a guy like Marv went from Mazda Marv to Maserati Marv in the span of a week, he's a bit of a better play in like a DFS style format than he would be in a Battle Royale style format here. So far in the main BR, we've got Jordan Mason, we've got Justin Jefferson, and then tabbing over to our goal line stand team, which is a 12-team draft. We started off hot with Alvin Kamara. We'll come up next on the Battle Royale team. We're about 6 picks away. Bowers is best case scenario. If we got Bowers here, I would be so happy.
Yep. Yeah. So Bowers is an auto pick if he's there.
Yep.
If he's not, I guess what kind of stack are you thinking of doing here? Because I don't want to. As I was talking about, I'm not big on Stroud and the Texans at all this week. There's nothing that's really in play for the Rams in terms of Battle Royale stacks, in my opinion. So we're kind of starting fresh here.
We could single stack Hurts. We could also just call this another naked AR team and not worry about it. We could make this a Geno team, honestly, and then just projection max our way there. I do think we should take Ayuk over Marvin Harrison, though, even if Harrison falls to us, if we wanted to make this a Geno team, because if Harrison goes off, Kyler's going to be the guy, right? That you need, I would imagine.
You want Ayuk plus Mason? We're okay with that?
Ooh, yeah, that's true. I have Mason here.
It's the reason I won't have much Ayuk in Battle Royale this week, by the way.
Yeah. No, that is a good call. Yeah, if you're high on Mason. Gosh, maybe an Olave. And then we can make it a 3 wide receiver build. It's tough in this spot.
Everything's just kind of gross.
Yeah, I'm good with Olave. Happy to make this a 3 wide receiver build. Should we just go tight end to get it over with?
I think so.
I don't want to take a lot of Laporta for what it's worth, but both the Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and their head coach Dan Campbell said they need to get Sam Laporta more involved this week. So if you're looking for a narrative reason to take somebody, I don't think that's too bad. When it comes to Laporta, there just aren't any matchup reasons to like him. And obviously the usage has been pretty bad post Jameson Williams breakout.
Yeah. So Laporta drove me crazy this week. From and stop if I need to stop talking. Tell me.
No,
did we draft Jonathan Taylor auto? Jeez.
Oh no, we're getting cooked right now.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stop talking. What are we picking next year? Okay.
All right. So this is a 12-man. We have Kamara. We have Jonathan Taylor. Do we want to try to work this into a car stack?
Yeah, that works for me. We have Camaro. Okay. Yeah, no, that totally works. Yeah.
So we could go like car Shaheed. I think I'm just willing to take that now and then hope some other stuff comes back to us.
Totally fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a 12-man, right? So things are going to get thin real fast.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, we're 20 picks away. Hopefully Shaheed comes back to us, but I think he will. Got Carr, Kamara, and JT. The good news is I wasn't really planning on taking any Jonathan Taylor this week, so that can be my lone Jonathan Taylor exposure. It's just concerning that they completely removed the pass game role from him in this past week. He had a brutal drop, and then he basically barely played in the fourth quarter against Green Bay.
So Jacob Sanderson on Dynasty Points had what I thought was an interesting conspiracy theory about this, where the broadcast literally thought JT was hurt, right? Like they send the sideline reporter down, ask him if he's hurt. They say on TV, I just talked to Jonathan Taylor. It says he's feeling fine. But Jacob's read was that there was like some anger between Taylor and Steichen, like that someone said something to the other person, maybe at the end of the game, really? And it was some sort of like statement benching. That's the only thing that kind of makes sense, right? Because the stated reason for Steichen after the game was, well, we were throwing, but Jonathan Taylor ran a 90% route share in week one, like clear. And also he's your best player. Like you should probably have him on the field when you're trying to come back, regardless of what the situation is. But I don't know. So I don't know what that tells us about Taylor's usage this week. I don't know if I have a firm take, but yeah, that was just thought I would share that. Because Jacob Sanderson, sicko Colts fan, all the best Colts rants on Fantasy Points, right here on the Fantasy Points YouTube channel, live every Tuesday night.
Yeah, I really enjoy Dynasty Points. I play in 0 Dynasty leagues. I've watched like 2 or 3 full episodes because I just like watching you guys talk to each other. It's a really enjoyable show, even for someone that has like pretty minimal interest in Dynasty as a format overall. If you have an opening in a league, Ryan, I'd hop in, but I don't think I could do more than one. I'm definitely not a sicko like our producer Thomas. He's in 60 leagues, 65 leagues. It's something insane.
Dude, I'm adding Thomas as a co-manager into my leagues because I don't want to deal with them. I have like 10 total and it's too many. I can't manage them at all. Like I go on Dynasty Points every week and I give my Dynasty takes, and it's like, these are the things I would do if I felt like I had the time to sit down and actually manage my Dynasty teams like a responsible person. But I can't right now. So I'm trying to make Thomas do it for me. I'll let you know how that goes. But
yeah,
Thomas,
please do.
Why no trades in these 2 leagues I let you into yet? I thought that was our agreement. You just came in and talked some smack in the league chats instead of making any moves for me.
We got cucked out of Rashid Shaheed here. So we are banking on Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara carrying us to the promised land. Should we just get tight end out of the way and grab a little correlation with Goddard?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, it's the only correlation worth the damn that you're gonna get. So it makes sense.
Yep. And then we are left with the leftovers at wide receiver.
It's really not that bad leftover. So like we got Sen makes it to us. I love it. Deontay's good here. There's options here.
Honestly, I think Whittington
what to do. Yep.
Jordan Whittington is a pretty underrated pick in these 12-team formats because it looks like he's just going to be in the exact same role as Cooper Kupp. He projects pretty well for us this week. I think it's probably more interesting in DFS where he's super cheap and he's only going to be like 3, 4, 5% owned. I thought he'd be mega chalk this week. That's not looking like the case, in part because there's so much value at running back in DFS. But let's grab JSN and then maybe we could round things out with Whittington or something like that. This team didn't quite go to plan. That is what happens when you get auto-drafted Jonathan Taylor and then sniped on Rashid Shaheed in a Derek Carr stack. But, there's still a little juice here. We got Carr, Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, JSN, and Dallas Goedert. Could certainly be worse from a correlation perspective. Ryan, is Alvin Kamara going to catch 3 receiving touchdowns this week?
Dude, I hope so. Oh my God. I actually, no, I don't hope so, because I'm not playing nearly as much, at least on the main. I don't think I'm playing as much Kamara as I will be the wide receivers. But yeah, no, I had to take 12 mans, Jake, since you're the 12 man take guy. Stafford plus Whittington, or like Stafford doubles in play.
I'm so worried about the offensive efficiency here. I mean, their implied total is gross. It's like 18 or something. It's not good. Because I think the total on the game is only 43 and a half, and San Francisco's favored by like 6.5. So Vegas is not expecting many points out of Los Angeles, and I would expect Stafford's efficiency to not be great, but who knows? I mean, Jordan Whittington looked like Julio Jones in the preseason, so maybe he's just undercover Julio.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm distracted by Thomas in the private chat telling me he's going to cut Josh Palmer from all my dynasty teams. I guess that's what I get when I come on stream and tell Thomas he's not doing enough work on my dynasty teams. I guess he's going to do whatever he wants with them.
We got a great question from Macro asking, do we have a preference between 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, and 1 running back, 3 wide receiver? Is there any data behind the difference? So I actually watched a great show. Fantasy Dog Pound has a really great YouTube channel dedicated largely to like Battle Royale, best ball type stuff. He interviewed Billy Jones, I want to say 2 weeks ago, on a show where they sort of talked about how like top 1% teams differ from, the field in terms of construction. Overall, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver builds are generally higher EV, have performed better than 1 running back, 3 wide receiver. But I also think it's very slate dependent. And I think on a slate like this week, 3 wide receiver builds actually look pretty good. And you can, just reference the fantasy points projections for why. Wide receiver is particularly deep this week. So I think this is a pretty good week to go 3 wide receiver. In a normal week, I'd probably go maybe 70% 2 running back builds. I think this week I'll be closer to 50-50. I might even skew slightly in favor of 3 wide receiver builds. What do you think, Ryan?
I don't know if I'd go as far as 50-50. I think there are a lot of scroll downs at wide receiver I like, but there's scroll downs at running back that I don't like hate, right? Like I'm totally fine taking like a Kyron Williams or even like a Zach Charbonnet is like I can sort of get there, right? So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not going to be forcing 2 running back this week, but I would be surprised if I ended up close to 50-50.
Yeah. I think that's a fair take overall. It's just a lot easier for running backs to outscore wide receivers in half PPR. If this was a full PPR format, then you probably would be looking at a bit more 3 wide receiver builds, especially in larger tournaments. But you just need touchdowns in half PPR. It's so crucial, especially, no bonuses on Underdog for yardage or anything. So the touchdowns are huge, which is why, a gross player like Charbonnet could go 3.5 yards per carry. And if he falls into the end zone twice, he still might outscore Chris Olave, which is pretty disappointing. We got Deontay Johnson here. Do you think he's the move? We could look for some correlation. Odunze. I think I'd rather just take Deontay, who's a pretty great projected play.
Yeah, I see no reason to just go Deontay.
Yeah. All right. Well, final team here is going to be Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, JSN, Deontay Goedert. Again, not exactly what we were hoping for a 12-team draft. If we didn't get sniped on Shaheed, I think I would have ended up just loving the team. But I guess I'll have to rip a couple more 12-man drafts later in the week here, but I do really appreciate everybody for tuning in to the week 3 Underdog Drafter Party. Matt asking if we can fill a blitz. I don't know. I don't think we'll do it on the show. I think we're about to wrap up, but honestly, I might hop in one right after the show. So really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate the comments, guys. Again, we're really trying to grow sort of the Battle Royale product and presence here at Fantasy Points. So hop into our Discord, free Battle Royale channel, where you can ask me and Ryan any questions you have about the slate. And I'm also pushing for maybe, it probably won't happen this year, but eventually at some point in the future, we will get some Battle Royale specific like either tools or content on the site. So, and we need you guys to watch and comment and, like these streams in order to justify it to management, because they're always a little hesitant to dip their toes in stuff that isn't, redraft, DFS, dynasty. So really, really appreciate all the viewers tuning in tonight. That'll wrap up the week 3 Underdog Drafter Party. Hope to see you all at the top of the leaderboards.
What?
Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.